Hey there again, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in. My name is Brendan, aka Cliff Jumper, and this is my son's Mk4 Jetta 1.8T with the Tiptronic 5-speed automatic. And it's developed some issues. And I know you're saying, no, a 20-year-old Volkswagen developed some issues? Say it isn't so. It is. So we're gonna get into it just a couple minutes. Well, a couple minutes for me, just a few seconds for you. Tune in, let's see what's going on.
What'd I do? You killed the car.
So here we have the 1.8T Jetta. It's actually been remarkably reliable, but the other day my son was driving it, and he's a newer driver. To his credit, he's only been driving for a couple of years, and he's not as well versed in what do you do when weird things happen. And apparently, according to him, the engine went vroom, and then the gas pedal didn't do anything, and so he pulled over to the side of the freeway, and I am guessing, just guessing, that he maybe thought the motor was off and it wasn't, and tried to start the motor with it already running. Because right now, the starter is not doing anything. At least, not anything productive that we would like a starter to do, like actually start the car. So, come in here, turn the key, and well, I think that means we're low on battery, but it was just going zing, zing, and not engaging. So I think he may have damaged the starter. Here's what I'm guessing, is that he was driving along, and it was in drive, and maybe he accidentally bumped it into neutral, which would make sense that the motor would go whoom, but nothing would happen when he pressed the gas pedal. It wouldn't go anywhere, hence coasting off to the side of the road safely and stopping. But if the motor was actually still running and it was in neutral and he turned the key, it could have, it's not supposed to, but it could have engaged the starter with the motor running, and that could have messed up the starter. Hopefully it only messed up the starter and not the ring gear on the flywheel on the transmission, because that would be bad. But we're going to start with the starter and see where we go from there and see what transpires. So let's take the starter out and see what's wrong. Sprayed it all down with battery acid remover and cleaner. I'll brush it off in a little bit. This cleaner's been sitting on here for a couple of minutes. I'm going to use a brush to kind of loosen up all of the residue crud. I'll use both hands on here in just a second, but after I brush it off, then I'll rinse it with water and we'll let that sit. Under there is our culprit that we need to get to, the starter that is misbehaving, it looks like. Looks like we're going to need to remove this part of the shifter mechanism, because that goes across the starter. That's fantastic. What a great design. And probably need to remove the air box to get in there too, because it's kind of heftily in the way. I've got a special tool for removing this so I don't break this. Looks like it's already been broken by somebody, but it's the functional part is still functioning. So we're gonna go get the thing, remove it the way it's supposed to. So there's our starter solenoid. We'll need to disconnect this one. That. Not sure what else is going to be holding it in the way down there. We got these fun little clips holding the control wire in place. So I'll just lift those. It's easy. Looks like a plastic cover. Alright, so that comes out and that gets us access to the positive wire. Looks like negative wires underneath there, the ground. So, and then I suspect there's probably one more bolt other than this holding the thing in place, but yeah, over there. All right, so this is a whole vibe. This will be interesting.
2 hours later.
So I've skipped a few steps here. This is part of the transmission control cable. So there's a little circlet mounted back here that holds it into the top of the starter, and you have to very carefully lift it out. While I was doing that, I was holding it with a magnet so it wouldn't fly off into parts unknown and I would lose it. So I'm sure this is probably no longer available and really hard to find at a junkyard. And then this side, I unbolted this part of the connector and just slid it out gently so the whole thing can kind of come off to the side and be out of the way. I'm just going to try not to bend it so that it will still do its thing when I'm done. I also unbolted, this is the little bracket that was on top holding the wiring harness in place. Just unbolted that. You see that this is a shoulder bolt, so there's another bolt holding the starter onto the top of the transmission, and looks like one more bolt holding it in back there, which is going to be interesting to get to. So I'm probably going to use a universal joint to get back in there. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we've got this one that needs to come out, and then back in there, there's a bolt. So
2 hours later.
Somewhere out there was somebody screaming at me while I was unbolting this wire saying, "You don't have to undo that." Well, yep, too late, I did, but it's out, so I can go ahead and re-secure it pretty easily since easy access now. So, there. Yeah, I apologize for the camera angle here. So we're gonna bench tense this and see if we've got function. All right, looks like the starter works. It's jumping out, doing what it needs to do. So that's a good thing and a bummer, because what we were having happen was the starter is engaging, but the motor isn't turning over. So now I'm wondering if I need to go underneath the motor and check the bottom side of the timing belt and see if the timing belt has let go in a place where I can't see it. Yeah, that could be expensive and ugly if we've lost the motor on this. So to be continued.
And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to say goodbye. We'll be back.